Part of what I wanted to say, I couldn't deliver. I didn't know anyway.
Such a bittersweet taste, such a perfect waste. Oh, hiding in the back of my conscious state.
Hello, I'm Sophia Jessica, and welcome to the Fan Carpet.
You have been very busy in these troubling times. I've seen you've done a few watch-alongs for you did From Beyond last night with Gigi Sol Guerrero.
Yes, tweet along, watch parties, because that's all we have anymore. What are we going to do with ourselves? I'm making a lot of dinners for my family. My family's so excited because we're not going out to restaurants. So I'm becoming a whiz chef at home. And otherwise, I'm just kind of doing what everyone else is doing, just trying to keep ourselves busy and keep ourselves sane, right? And do these watch parties, which has been a lot of fun.
No, that's good. That's incredible. That's incredible. We all have to. I mean, a part of me was thinking about writing a book today.
Today and one day, but starting it, yeah.
Yeah, starting it. Because I'm playing a lot of video games at the moment, but I'm kind of like, I want to do something else because that's kind of the thing I would be doing even if we weren't quarantined. So, like, what can I be doing instead of that? And yeah, but which brings me to my first question. We're just curious. It is in regards to our current situation. We can't say the precise name because we might get demonetized or whatever for some reason. With the popularity of streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus, what do you think the future of cinema is, especially considering the current situation with the AMC issues as well?
I don't know. I mean, it's evolving as we speak, and every day it feels like somebody comes up with a new thought on what it is going forward. I've read some articles recently that said, well, I mean, cinema's dead and we're not going to be able to do movies and people are sitting at home and watching TV and that's what people are interested in now. But when all this does end and we are able to go outside, at that point, we're not going to want to be sitting on our couches and doing the same thing we've done. Probably it might go on for another year or more, right? We're going to want to get out of our houses and off our couches and have a community experience with people. And that kind of rang true to me. I felt like we might have hopefully a renaissance with, in movies, because television has been so big for so long. Maybe movies will come back, in the way that they did, like, after the Spanish flu. I mean, movies were just beginning then, but it was the Roaring '20s. It was a big boom in production in movies, and studios were making 5 movies a week. They were shooting them in less time, but they were making a lot of them. And I mean, right now, I work in television a little bit, but not a lot. I'm hoping that movies are going to prevail. I mean, all of us who love to go to film festivals and, just have that community experience, we want that back. So I'm hopeful we're going to have that. I don't know when anybody's going to be able to go into production again. We're all talking about that and messaging each other. And I have a couple of things that I was supposed to do this year. I don't know if I'm going to get to. I was able to finish one film right before we went into the lockdown on February 29th. We finished filming a movie called Jacob's Wife, and we're now in post. So we're able to work on that. And that's amazing because it's going to take us another year to get that movie or maybe 9 months into the shape it needs to be. But I don't know, what are you hearing about television versus movies and productions going forward? What do you think?
Well, with this opportunity right now, we've got an opportunity to watch new shows that everyone's recommending. Whenever you're hanging out with your friends or at Fright Fest or communities, they're always saying, "Oh, have you seen this show? Have you seen this show?" And now we finally have the time to do that now, to finally get into the shows that people recommend, or 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 stupidly go back and keep watching the same shows that we love as always, like the Buffys and the Supernaturals, like myself. But I do try and watch new shows.
Revisit those,
And to revisit classics. I mean, I did just literally as the quarantine was just happening, I was I was finishing my third run through of The Sopranos, which I think is one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
I love it. I've only watched it once, though. I've only watched that once and Lost once, but that might be a good thing to do, is to go back and watch.
Definitely go back to Sopranos if you love the Scorsese gangster films. Oh, it's amazing. And then you miss certain things and little nods here and there, and the dream sequences were really creepy, but in a good way. They were clever, so clever, so clever as well, and they were magnificent. And Ben Kingsley showed up, and some of the great actors that showed up. Annette Bening, I think, was in one episode as well. And yeah, so many great moments. Because after that, for a little while, I kept watching clips on YouTube during my lunch breaks from work. But yeah, there are some interesting films that hopefully will be coming out over the next while. We're meant to have a Train to Busan sequel. There's the Wonder Woman movie. The Marvel films are meant to be kicking off again. So speaking of comic book movies and comic book stuff, because Reborn is about a young lady with superpowers, so to speak. She has the ability to wipe people out with electricity. I'm going to ask, when you were prepping for this movie, did you do any comic book or graphic novel research for Reborn? Did you look up anything like that, or were you watching any Spider-Man cartoons or anything like that? Yeah.
That's a very good question, and I have a pretty succinct answer for that. And the answer is no, but the reason is I didn't have a lot of prep for this movie. Somebody was cast in the film, and there was something that didn't work out, and so I came in at the very last minute with like 3 days notice. Julian called me on Friday and said, "Oh, we're starting to film on Monday, and would you read the script and would you consider playing this part?" So I had no prep time for this film. I've never had anything like that happen to me in my career. It's like waiters talk about these, waiter dreams that they have, where it's a nightmare and you wake up and you from this dream where maybe you had 50 tables and the chef wasn't ready and there's nobody to help you. That's the way I felt. I mean, I had a lot of dialogue for the movie and a lot to prepare, but no time to do so. So I read the script and I loved it. And I know Julian and I love Julian. And Radon Chong is in it, along with Michael Pare and Chaz Bono. And I'm familiar with all those people. And Michael and I were very good friends. We'd worked on Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich together.
Nice.
And I thought, I'm going to read the script. It was Friday, late Friday. It was like 11 p.m. And it popped up on a message as I was watching something. And I woke up on Saturday morning and I read the script and I messaged him back right away. And I said, "Okay, you need me, Julie, and I'll be there." So I live in San Francisco. We were shooting in LA. I packed up my car and I drove there on Sunday, the next day. And then I had to be there, and start filming. And I just completely threw myself into it. And my prep was really learning the lines. I had to learn the lines just, to get the stuff on film. So I had no prep, but everybody was great and helped me. And I knew the DP. He was the DP for Beyond the Gates, Brian Sowell. And one of our producers was Brian Usna, and we actually, the first few days we were filming at his house. His house was one of our locations. That was my house. and John Penny was one of our producers, and he was part of the production, and I know him. And so I felt very comfortable with everybody, and I really leaned on everybody. And I said, what is this scene about? What are we trying to accomplish here? And that's the way it went for me.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Well, you know, because you have been around for a while, obviously, and you got awesome reps. So I think it's safe to say that they had enough faith in you to say, right, oh, she'll do it. Like you know, they could have given you 12 hours notice, or 8 hours notice, or you could have made plans to go Subway that day, and then said, "Oh, we need you to make a film for us," and they'd be like, and they're probably, but you know, is that the shortest notice you've ever had for a movie?
I think so, yeah. But let me just say that I've worked on 4 different soap operas for a period of about 12 collective years over my career, and when you work in a soap opera, you get so much dialogue every day that you kind of leave it to the last minute to learn your dialogue. So so I had that muscle. I mean I've had that experience of having to just have no preparation and just throw myself in. So that's just exactly what I had to do. So I had to just trust myself that I could do it. But you know, like in life, right? You don't always sort of, you know, think what you're going to say in advance. You're just living your life. So that's the way I had to approach the character. Whatever somebody was saying to me, I had to just react in the moment and just be in the moment. I just, you know, that just wasn't, preparation wasn't possible. So I just pretty much had to wing it through the whole thing. I will say that, you know, after I was there for a couple of days, even though we were filming for 12 hours, I would go home and I would prep the next day and the next day and the next day. And I tried to get a little bit of ahead. And then we had a weekend, and then I felt like, okay, I have a little breathing room and I can really try to get into this character's mind and, you know, think about the scenes and how I was going to play them. But yeah, it was probably some of the least prep time I ever had. I will say, though, that I started to say this a few seconds ago, but the character is not unlike me. She's a B-movie horror actress that's down on her luck in her career, and she's looking for the next job that's hopefully going to change her career. And that's me in a nutshell. So it wasn't that far from me.
I understand.
Yeah.
Speaking of, that kind of brings me into my next question, because you play Lena O'Neill, like I say, an actress struggling to get back into sort of the mainstream movies and the mainstream kind of bigger movies, which is how everyone is in the industry, because there's always the ups and downs of the industry where you're up here and then down here and all that. So, you know, have you ever faced any major roadblocks in your career, and if so, what did you do to overcome them?
You know, I think acting is a long game, and it took me a while to realize that. There's many times in your career when you might hit a period where you don't work for a while. Sometimes it'll be a couple of months, sometimes it'll be a couple of years, and you have to hang in there. I remember after I did Castle Freak with Stuart Gordon, I felt like, oh, I really understand acting on film now. I get it. I've been doing it for years, but I really felt comfortable in a way that I hadn't felt really comfortable before, because I had started out on the stage and gone to school for theater and lived in New York for a while and did theater in New York, and then came out and did soap operas and some television work and then movies. And so by the time it was about 1995, you know, I'd been working for a while, but I was in my early to mid 30s, and all of a sudden, at a time when I felt like I knew what I was doing finally, I wasn't getting any roles. I wasn't getting auditions. Roles were sort of drying up for me, because at that time I think when I was in my early 20s, I got a lot of work. There was more work for younger people. I mean, it's still that way to a certain extent. And then when I hit my middle 30s or so, I wasn't, even though in Castle Freak, I played a mom, people didn't view me as quite old enough to be a mom yet. And I wasn't playing those roles like we were talking earlier about Dead Night before the program began, or something like I was in this movie called Sunchoke, and I played a crazy maid, and in Dead Night I'm trying to take over the world, and I have these cult people around me. So this sort of crazy older, not really spinster roles, but just the older, maybe crazy matriarch roles I wasn't ready for yet. So I hit that period of my career, and I just wasn't working, and it really floored me and distressed me greatly. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I toyed with quitting the business altogether and going into a different profession, just for my own sanity. And around that time, I met my husband, and we were dating, and then we got engaged. And he said, well, I have a job opportunity in San Francisco, so I'd like to move up there. So I said, nobody's hiring me now. So, okay, let's go up to San Francisco. So we moved up here, and I sort of forgot about the business for a while, and had 2 children right away, and just became a mom. And then really out of the blue, I was called back to work on You're Next, like 8 years later. So in those 8 years, I wasn't really working that much. And now that I look back on it, because it's been another 10 years since that happened, and I realize that that's just the way it goes. If you want a career in this business, I think whether it's acting or directing or working on a crew, on a set, costumes, makeup, whatever, a grip, whatever you're doing, you have to know that you're in it for the long game, and you're going to have ups and downs. And I rededicated myself to the business after I came back with You're Next, because I realized, I can actually work again. I think I got this part You're Next out of the blue. So maybe I'll get another part out of the blue. So anyway, I made myself a little bit more available, and reconnected with my agent, and then I did start working again. And I see a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook, and we're on these social sites so much more now. And I see the same thing with people. People are distressed about not working, and especially now, in a deeper, more profound way, not even being able to put food on the table, right? I mean, it's a pretty disastrous, and really stops you in your tracks. So I don't know where we are now. That's a whole different conversation than what I went through, just in a little lapse in my career of just not, booking enough jobs to make it worth my while. But now we find ourselves in another predicament. So, that remains to be seen. So I might not work for another couple of years, or maybe they'll find a way for us to come back and safely work if they come up with some sort of therapies or cures before we find a vaccine. I don't know, but we're all waiting. We're all waiting just to see what's going to happen. Oh, that took us in a sad turn. Now we're kind of in a sad turn. That wasn't really your question, but I mean, that's
no. I think I think that's relevant. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't it wasn't my intention. It was just about because in your career, obviously you learn from success, you learn from mistakes and failures, and ups and downs. I mean, every day you're learning. Every day you're learning something new. Speaking of, did you learn anything particularly new making this film, or did you have any fun experiences, any fun stories that happened whilst you were making Reborn with the gang?
I do want to give a shout out to Kayleigh Gilbert, who plays the lead character. Yeah, because she's a newcomer, and it's always fun to work with new people. I was a new person at one point, and she's profoundly great in this film. And it's sort of a take on, you know, a little bit Frankenstein, a little bit Carrie. And I mean, she was extraordinary. She had so much depth of feeling, of sadness and longing, and twisted maniacal leanings because of what she'd been through in her life. And she was really extraordinary to work off of. And she helped me a lot, being, you know, not having a lot of prep time. She, I think, won that role over hundreds of girls that auditioned, and she had a lot of time to work on it, and just her preparation and what she brought to the role really helped me, and was, you know, I was able to really be grounded by her and her performance, just working with her, because she was just so pure and true in the role. And I just think she was amazing, and I really hope she gets more work, because she's really deserving of more work. So what did I learn? I don't know. I learned I could trust myself on a set and not have a lot of prep time. And, you know, and I loved, as I said, I loved working with Julian. And he also does some sales work. He has Jenga Films, which is also a sales company. So he had sold Beyond the Gates for us. And he's come to be a good friend to me. So anyway, I loved working with him in this capacity, because for him, he loves directing. And that was what he came on the scene doing in the beginning of his career. And then he sort of moved into sales and distribution. And now he's going back to directing, and he's been doing that quite a while now. And he's very good at it. And he's, you know, so it was really fun to work with him too.
Good.
Yeah.
So just gotta ask if there was any, because obviously you read a lot of books, obviously. Is there any book that you would like to see made into a TV film or Netflix series? That you'd like to see become a Netflix series or TV show or movie?
No, if there's like one book in particular that I can pick out right now that I think, oh, I really wanted. Well, I mean, you know, there's a few things that people have asked me to read, to maybe think about turning into something. I mean, the first thought I had as you're asking me the question is also more Lovecraft.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because, you know, we see a lot of Stephen King adaptations in film and television, but we don't see a lot of Lovecraft. It would be great. And I have a background in Lovecraft, so it would be great to do a series based on something Lovecraftian. So that would be probably my first thought. And then after that, I work a lot with Fangoria. You know, I did Puppet Master of the Littlest Reich, and also I did a new movie for them coming out, and the name is escaping me. I'll come up with it in a second. But they also are going into the publication of books, and I hasn't come out yet, but there's a book called Our Lady of the Inferno, and it's about a serial. Well, it's out. It's out now, but I did an audio read of what would potentially be my part in the movie if we actually made the film, and it's about a serial killer. And the book is great. So that personally, to me, you know, that's something that I would love to maybe be a part of. More than books right now, I read a lot of scripts. Scripts get sent to me a lot because I just started producing. So I'm reading a lot of different scripts, and now, just thinking because of where we are with the COVID-19, does that need to shift? Thinking about, do we need to tell different kinds of stories now? Because everybody's head is going to be wrapped around having been at home for a long period of time and in quarantine, and our sensibilities about what we might want to see on screen may change or have changed. So those are the kinds of conversations I'm having with people.
Of course. Yeah.
And maybe shooting things that are a little bit smaller in scale, because it'll be easier to keep people safe over the next couple of years while we wait for a vaccine, and how we're going to accomplish that. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm kind of looking at now, just maybe smaller productions with fewer people.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think it gives for producers, screenwriters, especially writers, I see windows of opportunities here as well for people to take time out to write interesting and unique stories, original stories. I mean, as much as I love my comic book movies, I can watch many new Batman movies all day long. But
you're a
when they
comic
come
book
up
fan,
with
then that's what I'm getting from you.
Obviously, but as much as I love all that, I mean, I love my Batman movies, but I like when they come up with original, freaky, scary stuff, as well.
Do you like scary things? Do you think horror has to be scary?
No. I mean, like my all-time favorite scary movie is Alien. The Exorcist or Alien, because of the atmosphere. It has to have an atmosphere that draws you in and makes you feel like, oh, okay, hold on, but it has beautiful music from Jerry Goldsmith, which is weird, because the music is really intense in that movie as well. That movie is over 40 years old, by the way, and to this day, it's still scary as hell.
The Exorcist.
That too. That's also 40 years old. Alien and Exorcist. I think they're both plus 40 years, but yeah.
Plus 40. I think the Exorcist is older. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the atmosphere and just that fear, that dread, and anything to do with the devil always freaks me out. I don't know, maybe because I'm Catholic. I don't know.
Possession movies are very, very scary to me. I mean, The Exorcist was the first movie that I ever saw in the theater, and I actually left because it was so scary I couldn't take it. I think I was only like 16 at the time, or 15, whatever I was, 14 maybe. But we're all watching movies over and over again. So I revisited that a week ago. I'd seen it maybe 10 years ago, and then I watched it a week ago. It's still scary. It's still freaky and scary. Yeah, and there is something maybe about that puritanical blood that we have that makes anything religious and possession and having to do with the devil really freaky. I agree with you.
Definitely.
I mean that. Yeah.
But yeah, that and Alien, just for its atmosphere. So I watched it in the cinema last year at the Prince Charles for its anniversary, and it was just incredible. Beautiful film as well. Scenery, but very scary. Okay, Reborn is being released on May 4th.
Great.
Star Wars Day of all days. Here in the UK.
That's amazing. May the 4th be with Reborn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that. That should be a new tagline. May the 4th be with Reborn. Nice. That's our new hashtag now. We're gonna promote the shit out of that now. Here at the Fan Carpet.
You're welcome.
But yes, Barbara, thank you so much. My first ever video interview, so I'm very honored to have that. So considering the amount of times I spoke to you at Fright Fest as well, it's a huge honor.
We're all having to do this now. I'm doing Zooms. I did a Zoom last night, a reading of From Beyond.
From Beyond.
Like, a YouTube party for Scripts Gone Wild, and then I'm doing all these watch parties, Twitter watch parties, and
you've got Puppet Master tonight, haven't you?
I got Puppet Master tonight, and for Shudder. I don't know if you get if Shudder is carrying Puppet Master in the UK, but anyway, we have that. So I mean, we'll just all hang out together alone, and
that's the idea.
Try to see this through. Yeah,
technology brings through. Barbara, thank you very much, man. Have a good day with everything, and best of luck, man. And looking forward to the success of Reborn.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Bye.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for more content next time.
You're not gonna leave me again, are you? You're not my daughter. Don't say that. You're not. You did this to me! You did this!
I'm here on the largest of the Balearic Islands, Mallorca, with the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea, beautiful mountainous landscape, the thriving city of Palma, quaint little market towns, a growing number of luxury hotels. It's no surprise that the likes of Audrey Hepburn and Elizabeth Taylor like to holiday here. So come and join me as I take you around Mallorca.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. If you like this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen. And also be sure to subscribe to the Fan Carpet YouTube channels. They're absolutely free and so much fun too. Be sure to check out the official website, thefancarpet.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with reviews, competitions, the latest news, and so much more.